Hello, my sewing friends. I want to talk to you today about Butterick 5000. This is a circa late 1960s, early 1970s pattern from Butterick. It's vintage, obviously. You can see it here, you can see it here, and you can see it right here. I loved this little pattern, but it is quite a saga and a prime shining example of how you can overthink something. So let me tell you what happened. First of all, this calls for crisp fabrics, and it has a whole list of them, and it says it is only 2 easy main pattern pieces, and they're right. There are only 2 main pattern pieces. You have an armhole facing, a front facing, because it attaches, it's kind of like a double-breasted coat. So very easy to sew together. I added some inseam pockets. I used a quilting cotton that I had in my stash because I liked the colors and I thought that they had that kind of 60s vibe. I used bias tape binding to finish the armholes because I hate facings as a general rule. So let me tell you the saga of this dress. Well, I knew that I wanted to do something different than what the pattern called for. The pattern calls for shank metallic buttons, and you can see right here with loops. Okay, well, I didn't want to do that. I thought, oh, I know, I'll put piping all up around this this finished edge here, and then I will form the button loops out of the piping, and then I can use whatever kind of buttons I want, but that's what I'll do. I got all the piping. Oh, I had already put it together, so I pulled it apart, put the piping in, and the piping is the same, or it was the same color as this bright lime green, which you can tell kind of goes with it. And I thought, well, I'll just cut those loops. Like, I'll cut a little piece of where the piping is attached. I'll cut a little bit of it away, but it will still be attached pretty much. So I will just have that form the button loop. Well, then I realized I was going to have a raw edge. So I had to think about that for a while, like months. And then I decided, maybe I don't want shank buttons. Maybe I want statement buttons, because I didn't think that gold buttons were really going to work with this print. Or even silver, any kind of metallic button. I thought, no. So I thought, oh, statement buttons. So I got buttons that were like this big, and you know, they would have been almost as big as the flowers, you know, maybe as big as some of the flowers. But I played around with that. I liked the big, you know, round buttons, and then I liked flower-shaped buttons, irregularly shaped flower buttons, and in different colors. I thought, oh, that'd be cute, but they wouldn't fit through whatever kind of loop that I was gonna have to make. So I thought, well, okay, I'll use Velcro to close it. Well, I got the Velcro all sewn on, and then it kind of pulled apart. Didn't make it, it made it fit funny, you know? And then I thought, snaps. I asked on Instagram, I said, help me, Obi-Wan sewers, what am I going to do to get this thing closed? And some people said snaps, so I used the great big snaps. They're about the size of a quarter, sewed them all in, got them all on, and tried it on, and nope, pulled it out of shape again. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is just becoming such a problem. This is the cutest little dress, just finish the thing. So I thought, all right, I had decided that I wouldn't do I wouldn't go in and ruin the piping by cutting those little loops. But then I thought, all right, you're never going to see the raw edge anyway, so why not? So I cut the loops, and then I thought, oh, I'll finish them. I'll zigzag over them. Oh my gosh, what a nightmare. That looked terrible. And I thought then, well, now I've ruined the piping. Now what am I going to do? So I went in and took all the piping out. I should have probably put it back in because it did look nice. It kind of defined the wrap aspect of the dress. But I finally thought, all right, look, I got to go in and just make button loops like the pattern originally said. I'm just going to do that. I'm not going to do it like it says, where you have to sew a strip and then turn it inside out and then cut it into little pieces. No. I wasn't going to do that. I just went ahead and took some bias tape that matches the armhole binding and top stitched it and used those. And that worked okay. And then I thought, well, if I use great big statement buttons like I had originally thought I would, the trouble is you have to get the loop over the button. And the button is big, but the place where the button attaches is pretty small. So what you end up with is a whole lot of loop holding onto a little bit of stitching there where the button attaches. And so it's like you'd have to put the button clear over here in order for the, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I thought, all right, look, I've got these cute little pink flower-shaped buttons. So they were going to fit in the button loops, and I just used those. And, you know, I ended up having to have a make it work moment because I didn't want this facing that's on the inside where it wraps. I didn't want it loose, kind of flopping around, even though the pattern says not to finish it. I mean, they don't tell you to attach it. Probably because of the reason I ran into, the problem I ran into with it, which was that if I were to sew snaps down, it works great if you're sewing them on the inside part here. But if you want to sew it here, the facing doesn't go far enough for the snaps to attach. So the snap stitching was going to show on the outside. Yeah, I figured that out. And I figured it out because I was hand stitching the hem. And I just didn't think, even though I've top stitched the edge here, kind of edge stitched it to give it some stability, I just didn't think that this dress lent itself to a top stitch hem. Yeah, I know. I've top stitched the bias binding in around the edges, whatever. I just didn't want to do that. So I sat and hand stitched the hem, and in the end, it turned out so cute. I really love this little dress. Classic example of how you can overthink a pattern, and you can do something and then take it apart and then not want to go mess with it, so you leave it sit and then you go back to it and you think again and then you end up, no, that's not going to work. You know what? It's going to happen. Sometimes you just toss it and go, okay, no, that's too much. But other times, if you hang in there with it and maybe do other things while you're thinking about it, it works. And it turns out to be really cute and just what you wanted, and that was the case here. So that is the story, the saga of Butterick 5000 Vintage. And that is it for now for me. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.